All right, so this is the Cepheus engine video number 2. This is going to be spaceships and aircraft vehicles. I did notice I had lost some data a while back, and so the character wizard only goes down. This is from basically talk about the previous video. The character wizard only has down to nobles for the selection, so I have to go update that. So I completely forgot about that. So I got to get that done before I release it, or I might just release it and let people play around with it. But spaceships, I think, are pretty much done. So here's how it works. So you can see I have some on the combat tracker here, and you have all kinds of stuff going on. So what we're going to do is we are going to first close this out. We'll go to the Vehicles tab. So you have this window that pops up here, Build Ship window. This looks like a computer console. And so essentially I took all the tables that are in Cepheus engine and I digitized them, and makes it really easy to build your ship out without having to cross-reference and all that thing. So I did for hull tonnage, it goes like even numbers like 200 to 300 to 400 to 500 600, so on and so forth. I did some linear interpolation between the tonnages, and so you can actually choose whatever hull tonnage you want, and it'll interpolate between the 2 points of the table and set up your cost and configuration and everything like that. So let's set this tech level here to 11, and as you can see, so if I do 400 and I click off, I'm going to do standard. All right, so if I do 400 tonnage, it's 82. There's this little rounding error here, but if I change this to 425, it's 86. I just have to click on something else to update. So you can see it changes it. And then if I go to 500, it's 98. And if you go look at the table, it'll actually it'll match up. So we're going to change this to 425. Standard configuration, we'll say armor, crystal iron, we'll say double. See, it updates tonnage and cost when you do that. We'll say it's got a reflect and a self-healing hull. We want a jump rating of 4, a maneuver rating of 3, and then it's going to take your power plant based upon that. You can actually select different numbers of power plants if you want some redundancy. It'll update the tonnage if you do that. Electronics, so this is all based upon tech level. So at tech level 11, we have the selection of these. We'll say basic military. Computer options, the same thing. It's all based upon your tech level. And this will give us our rating. So you'll see this rating will update. All right, and we're going to say it's hardened. All right. And then you get this software selection at delivery. And you can see, though, as I was selecting things, it was actually updating the computer console so people could see exactly, what it does. All right, so now we're going to give it a name. We're going to say a star frigate. All right, and we're going to confirm it. All right, close this out, and there's my star frigate, and there it is. Okay, so I'm going to lock this record. Okay, so you can see everything we selected is on here. There is automation associated with this. You could go over to other tab, and you could see that all of that computer console is printed out here, so it tells you what it does, okay, and it breaks it all down for you. You have this vehicle components section here. So what that is, so this basically just designs your ship. It's an empty hull, okay? You have 185.5 tonnage used. This is just what it took to build the ship out, and you have this much available, okay? You have this many hard points available. You have a computer rating of 15, okay? So it tells you it's like a shell, okay? Well, now you have to install your suites, right? And so you could build those out however you want. So you can go to items, and you could build fittings is one subcategory, okay? You could build hulls is another category, okay? It could be whatever it is, okay? And then defenses is another category, okay? And then also finally weaponry is one. So here's an example of a weapon. This is a sandcaster, okay? And so what a sandcaster does Did I fill this out? Okay, yeah, so it doesn't get a tonnage, there is no damage, and there is no bonus. It needs a cost. We could put a cost in there. I'm just going to make one up. Okay, so what you do is you just take this sandcaster, and you drag it to here. Now what a sandcaster does is shoots out this chaff so that when the beam weapon comes in, it actually will reduce the die, right? So it's a little tricky when you do this. So I did it via a IFT effect. So now this can actually work with anything. This is just not unique to the Sandcaster. You could have any sort of weapon or defensive system you want, and it can block any sort of energy weapon. So there's beam, laser, radiation, meson, nuclear, I think are the ones. Okay, so you can block any of those. And so how it works on this one, though, if you're going to reduce the die, then you have to use targeting on the combat tracker, right? Because it has to know before you grab the die that something's targeted and it's going to knock it down by one. So it's like a pre-roll thing. So this is the only one that has to be targeted ahead of time. Okay, I'm kind of going on a tangent. All right, so you add the Sandcaster, and then you can see it shows up in the Actions tab, and this is how it's going to look later. So it's going to have this target, and this is a kind of duration that's going to be expire on once it's used. Okay, so I can add another one. I can add a particle beam here, right? And so you can see the damage 3d6, and then this is the type of damage. Okay, it's a beam. We're going to add that. Okay, now let's see something here. Looking for my hard points. I think it's actually reducing them. Let me add another one. Let's see if it no, it's not. Okay, so I can't remember if I started with 3 or not. You just got to remember that each one of these takes a hard point. Okay, so you know you're gonna have to use your brain a little bit, but I think this helps out a lot. Okay, so now you have this ship. Now this is like an NPC ship. Okay, so what we did was, or what I did was, I said we, is we have this other thing called a player vehicle. So anytime your character is going to use the vehicle, we want to make it a player vehicle. So all we do is we just clone it, hit the button one time, and now we have a player vehicle here. Okay, Star Frigate. Now it's a player vehicle. Okay, the other way we can make a player vehicle is we can actually, I think I'm going to change this. I think right now it only accepts an NPC vehicle and then changes it, but I wonder if let's see what happens. I don't think this is going to work. No, it doesn't work. So the other thing you do is you just take it from your NPC vehicle list and you just drag it here. Okay, it doesn't make a copy in here, but it does here. Now, okay, so now when you do this ship is essentially a character sheet. Okay, it will stay a character sheet until you hit this button. All right, so just you don't want to hit this button until the ship gets destroyed or whatever, because what this does is it saves all the data here. All right, so we have to enter in the initial thrust. So 3, and then you'll have to put the fuel in there. I don't know, does fuel, let's look at the fuel. 20 tons. All right, so 20, but let's say we added modules that added fuel capacity, and it's 40. Okay. And then the other thing we have on here is a little cargo tab, and this is all weight and tonnage. What I need to do is I need to add a little total tonnage weight thing over here so you can see what you've expended with the cargo. And then I need to look at after your tonnage used. Let me see this. I thought I did this. All right, so I'm going to add an item with some tonnage on it. Here we go. Let's see how much is left. Let's do 100. Let's see what happens when I add this. Okay, good. It is updating the tonnage, so I just wanted to make sure I did that. So you'll know I'll have this on there, so you'll see how much tonnage is used, and then we'll just keep updating it as you add cargo. Excuse me. Okay, so this ship is ready to go. Now we're going to go to here. I'm going to delete these things. All right, now we're ready to add it to the combat tracker. Okay, so we are going to add this to the combat tracker. All right, now as soon as I did that, you see this. It's completely random. This number gets generated. If I delete it and add it again, it's going to generate a new number. Watch. Okay, and it's just this hexadecimal number. So there's no way you're going to get like two numbers the same. It's just not going to happen. Okay, and then this is what the GM sees. He sees all this information from this star frigate, and it's friendly. All right, well that's great. Well, what about players? All right, so we're going to go to the player tab. We're going to get rid of this guy. All right, we're going to take it from the PC vehicle. All right, so you can grab it from the party sheet, or you can also grab a vehicle from this. Now, you want to use the party sheet one, okay, because it's linked to the combat tracker and it's going to be linked to the character sheet. But like, let's say Avatar here was on the star frigate with the crew and he hops in a starfighter, flies it out of the hangar bay. You could disembark him and grab the fighter from here, and then he can play that fighter. And then you drag the fighter from here onto the combat tracker, okay? And then all you do is the GM we'll get to, is make sure the UIN's the same, and I'll show you that in a second. All right, so we add this. All right, so look, the UIN matches. Now what that means is he's linked to that ship. Okay, if it doesn't match, he's not linked to the ship. Okay, and what's cool about that is when this takes damage, his status report updates on his console. If this was not linked, it would not show that. Okay, all right, so we can assign a pilot, whatever. That's just kind of flavor. And these are all linked up. So we can see that. What did I do? I took a turret damage. Actually, I don't think turret's listed on here, but I can tell you what is listed on here. J drive. If I take one on the J drive, you can see the J drive updates here and updates there. It's all linked together, right? And then if I go and I delete the star frigate from here, okay, it's all saved on the party sheet. So I can go back and I can grab it, and we can see that it's still all there. Now you'll notice when I did that, every time I do that, it updates the UIN. Okay, so I can do this one of two ways. I can disembark it and redrag it, or I actually open this field up. Okay, and now they're linked, and now I can update the damage. Okay, if it doesn't do that, if it's not the same, and I change M drive to 3, it updates it, but it doesn't update there. Neat, huh? Okay, so that's kind of how that works, right? Take it back to 2. All right, so that's how ships are linked. Now, if he gets on the starfighter, I disembark, and then I grab the player vehicle starfighter onto there, and then the player can make all rolls. All rolls from his character sheet. And I did that so that the player doesn't have to have this open. Okay, he can make all rolls. He can know the status of the ship. He can make all rolls from the character sheet. Okay, beam weapon. All right, he can do the sandcaster. Now, I keep saying I'm going to add this. I need to. Right now, he's got to add the sandcaster like this. He's got to actually open the record and then drag the effect over. Okay. And watch what happens if now I have to target ahead of time. Why am I doing it like that? I need to do it like this. I target ahead of time, and then it's only going to roll 2, right? And then it drops it, okay? And in this case, it took no damage because the protection value is 8. I mean, we could do all kinds of things with this. I can actually, if I do a Meson, it ignores the protection. I have a protection effect I can put on there if you have some special armor. I think not ablative, but reflex coatings. What do reflex coatings do? They do something specific, and you can actually do that with an effect. Reflect ship's armor against lasers. So if for your reflect coating, you're going to have an effect that it won't expire. You'd put it on the ship that, if damage type laser, and then it'll be protection plus, what does it do? Protection 3 in this case. So kind of neat. So you could do all that, and it's going to automate it, right? Okay, so let's talk about what this does for the GM. All right, so I think the GM sees like the attack, so the GM can actually make the rolls. The player doesn't see that. If this is what the player sees, and in this case, the Star Frigate's healthy. Let me show you. If I take the structure down to 5, it's damaged, right? If I take it down to 0, it's destroyed. If I take it back to 8, and say if I take this down to 0, it's disabled. So I actually have this all updating. All right, so let's talk about this. So there's a couple things. So to you're gonna do damage on something. Like, let me just roll damage real quick. I'm gonna roll damage on the Star Frigate, and it says a single hit. Okay, so what do? Well, you determine the hit location. So you hit it one time. All right, in this case, it says turret. So I go turret, and I double click it. Random turret is hit. The turret and all weapons in it are disabled. Okay, so now you as the GM can see all the turrets up here. I have 2. So I roll a d6, a 1 to 3. It's the Sandcaster, and then that weapon becomes disabled. All right, that's how you would adjudicate that. Now, in some cases, it may hit the hull, okay? And you can just double click it and it does that, right? And it updates on the client side. And then in some cases, there's actually going to be damage to the crew, all right? Like it's going to penetrate the structure, I think is what it would be. It'll tell you, like if you hit a bay, a random bay is hit, base target mechanism is damaged, a sensor's hit, fuel, there's another one. All right, so how we do this is if it's a crew, if it affects the crew, you can toggle between radiation and crew and it rolls, okay? So random crew members. So if Doug and Avatar are on there, you're going to adjudicate that, and then you're going to roll the damage, and then you're going to adjust it on their wounds, okay? So that's how you have to do it. I kind of stopped the automation at this point because there's lots of little things you as the GM might have to do to adjust it, right? This -2 DM to all comms checks to use sensors. So whoever's doing that, you can put an effect on there. Comms. What is it? I think it's just called comms. If you put an effect on there, capital C, capital O, capital M, M, S, colon -2, you just did that. You took care of it. Okay. So that's how this works. So, like 1d6 fuels per hour. So the first hour he loses 5. So he's down to 15, right? And that's how you would take care of that. And it's updated. Okay. Anyways, I think this is pretty slick. I think it works pretty well. You notice there's a PAX on here. It actually has who the passengers are. So you can quickly, as the GM, see who's on board the ship and who's linked without looking at, my wife's talking to me, without looking at the character sheet. So I think that's about it. If you got any questions, just post it on YouTube. I'm going to get this video up and the first video up, and I'm going to look at releasing this pretty soon. All right, thanks.